With Week 10 now in the books, many teams are still jockeying for some of those final playoff spots. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Destiny Sanchez here with Logan Bourandas and Charles Reinert. Tonight we will be breaking down some of the teams hovering around the wild card and whether or not they have what it takes to make it to the playoff contention. Let's start with the Raiders. Josh Jacobs had a field day with 112 yards and 2 touchdowns, which helped propel the Raiders to a 37-12 win over the Denver Broncos. Do you think Jacobs can continue carrying the team heading into next week's game against the AFC West Division leading Kansas City Chiefs?
I think they definitely can. The Chiefs, looking at their record, they're 8-1 right now, and their only loss this year coming against these same Raiders. And Josh Jacobs in that game, 77 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns in total. And looking at what he's done in his sophomore season, he's already made massive improvements throughout the entire year. 700 rushing yards, 8 touchdowns. He had 7 total touchdowns last year. You're just seeing the improvement. And the Raiders offense kind of rallying around Josh Jacobs as they don't really have the receivers to get the job done, with Nelson Aguilar being probably their top weapon there for the Raiders offense. And this is a Raiders team that, with the record being 6-3, have a great chance of being competitive for one of those wild card spots, especially with the 7th seed now in both sides of the playoffs. And they have a very favorable schedule coming up. They have games against the winless Jets, the Chargers, and the Broncos, who are kind of on the bottom in that division. So they can definitely, if they can win at least all those games and maybe win a couple more of the other games they have on their schedule, they could be a dangerous team heading to the playoffs. My one question would be in the division and on the defensive side, as they have one of the worst defenses still in the NFL, as they just haven't been able to recover since trading Khalil Mack to the Chicago Bears. They had all these first-round picks that they got in that trade. They got Cleveland Farrell and Jonathan Abram to kind of shore up that defensive side, but they just haven't been able to get the pieces on the defensive side. And Josh Jacobs can carry the offense to the playoffs, in my opinion. I don't think they can carry him that he can carry them any further.
Well, you definitely make some great points about the Raiders having a favorable schedule coming up. But what I want to bring up is no one's talking about Derek Carr this season. Derek Carr is having a pretty good season. 16 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He has 2,000 passing yards so far. Last time against the Chiefs, he had 347 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, only 1 interception. One of the 2 interceptions coming in that Chiefs game. But I definitely think that the Raiders can make that final wild card spot. If there's one thing they have to do this week against the Chiefs, so they definitely have to keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. You have to get that running game going. You have to keep it established, because if obviously Pat Mahomes isn't on the field, he can't score. And the Chiefs, I still think, win this game in a close one, but I definitely think the Raiders could take that final spot.
The Titans have dropped 3 of their last 4 games and look to redeem themselves against another struggling team, the Baltimore Ravens. What do you think Tennessee needs to do to reignite the momentum it had earlier this season?
All right, well, Derrick Henry definitely has to get going again. Over the past 3 games, he only has 1 touchdown. He's been tearing it up this season with the yards, and he's just going through a little bit of a skid right now. But if you also look at the Tennessee defense, they've let up 31 points to the Bengals, 30 points to the Jags, 34 points to the Colts, 30 points to the Vikings. These aren't exactly dynamic offenses. So the defense definitely has to step up and do their part in this team. If you look at the rest of the schedule, they still have to play the Colts, the Packers, the Ravens, and even the Browns. The Browns have been a surprise this year. So we definitely have to think about those games coming up if these Titans want to make the wild card spot.
Well, when the Titans started out the season 5-0, it came not only from MVP play from Derrick Henry, but Ryan Tannehill as well. He was playing at an elite level, picking up from where he left off in those AFC playoffs a year ago in the second half of the season. Now in these last 4 games where the Titans are 1-3, Ryan Tannehill has now thrown over 250 yards in one of those games. And a big part of that is they've played really good defenses in those 4 games, with the Bears we just talked about, the Colts who they just played, and then the Steelers who are still undefeated to this point in the season. And they've just come into that game with a focus of just stopping Ryan Tannehill, and it's worked. As in the Colts game, Derrick Henry managed to get over 100 yards, which is great, but they lost the game. So Ryan Tannehill has to find a way to get involved in the offense again, and like you said, it's not going to be easy. They have a very hard schedule coming up, and they still have a shot. They're tied with the Colts now in the AFC South. They play them once again later in the season, so it's really going to be up to Ryan Tannehill on whether or not this team can be back in the playoffs.
A miraculous catch in the end zone by DeAndre Hopkins in Arizona's final play of the game gave the Cardinals a 32-30 victory over the Buffalo Bills. Second-year quarterback Kyler Murray has taken huge strides this season and is proving he is one of the budding stars in the league. Do you think Murray will come through next week and take down the Seahawks for the second time this season?
First of all, it was a great catch by Hopkins. It was a great throw by Murray, but the catch from Hopkins was just a lot better. As you can see, triple coverage. Not many receivers can do that in the league. But looking into next week against Seattle, we've seen this Seattle defense be, despite the names that they have, be one of the worst defenses, if not the worst, in the NFL this year. And that's with having Bobby Wagner, Jamal Adams, Carlos Dunlap, and Shaq Griffin, which if you have 4 out of 11 players on a defense who are top of their position, you should not be as bad as you are. And the best this Seahawks defense has played was last week against the Rams, where they gave up exactly 20 points in that game, but they still lost. If Russell Wilson, who's playing like an MVP candidate, struggles just a little bit, that Seahawks defense can't recover, as they just can't stop any offense no matter who's playing quarterback for them. I mean, they let Jared Goff play like an MVP candidate, 300 passing yards in that game. So Kyler Murray, what he did against Seattle in that last game they played against them, he balled out. So I think he can definitely do that again, even with Kenyon Drake coming back into the fold, as he made an appearance against the Buffalo Bills last week. And I like this Cardinals team going forward. They're tied right now in that NFC West division, which is one of the best divisions in all of football. And the way the Cardinals are playing right now on the offensive side, and they have some great players on defense as well, they're definitely the favorites in my mind in that division.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. 360 passing yards, 3 touchdowns last time Kyler played the Seahawks. He's definitely taken a step forward this season. The Cardinals front office has done a great job going out and getting weapons like DeAndre Hopkins, which obviously paid off last night. The Cardinals could definitely win 6 of their next 7 and get hot at the right time. You want to get hot right before the playoffs. That way, that momentum can take you into the Wildcard round. This is going to be a fun game to watch this upcoming Thursday, and I am very excited to watch it.
The Chicago Bears at one point were sitting pretty with a 5-1 record and towards the top of the NFC standings. The move to Nick Foles over Mitch Trubisky seems to be the right one, but the offense is still a question mark despite the stellar play on the defensive side of the ball. Do you think that Khalil Mack and the rest of the defense is enough to secure a spot in the playoffs for the Bears?
This is an easy no here. I mean, the Bears' offense, no matter who's been at quarterback, whether it's been Trubisky or Foles, despite the playmakers they have, they've just been unable to get any offensive momentum going. And that's with having David Montgomery, Allen Robinson, and Jimmy Graham, some great names there offensively. I mean, they just haven't been able to get anything going there. I mean, they've only scored 30 points once in a game this year, and that came against the Falcons, where Nick Foles made his first appearance in that game, and he came in late in relief for Mitch Trubisky, who was struggling. And 30 points is the most they scored all season, which is not going to get it done, especially when you're in a division with the Packers, Vikings, and Lions, teams that have really great offenses all around. And with the Packers in that division and getting hot, the Bears are just in no place to make a run in the playoffs at this point, especially with the wild card race being as tight as it is right now. And no matter how great that man right here is, Khalil Mack, no matter how great he can play on the defensive side, the Bears are just going nowhere.
I definitely agree with you, Logan. You make some great points, especially having to face an angry Aaron Rodgers 2 times before the playoffs start. The days of defense winning championships are long gone. You got Patrick Mahomes in the league now. You got Lamar Jackson running around tearing it up. This is definitely a team that should be thinking more about the future rather than right now. They should definitely be looking to make a move this season or this offseason, either by trade from maybe a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo from the Niners, or maybe even Sam Darnold from the Jets, or looking to draft someone from the NFL draft, maybe someone like Trey Lance if he falls in the first round.
It'll be very interesting to see how these teams play as we come into Week 11. That's all the time we have for this edition of Penn State Sports Night. Stay tuned for more NFL content. For Logan Bourandas and Charles Reinert, I'm Destiny Sanchez, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for watching this edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also, follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with all the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.